All right, there we go. Jim Webb asked a question. Good, if you're out of state and you took the Federation test in Maryland, what I actually need, you should be able to print a certificate out of the NFHS site. If not, at least send me in Dragonfly from Maryland that you have that done, and we'll get you credit for that. All right, real quick, I do want to give a special thank you to one member who's been very helpful recently. I had a couple family things and stuff coming up, and I had to actually bail twice now on our applicant class. And this member stepped up and is covering the classes and doing a great job. He also did a nice job analyzing our survey results, which is really going to help with our training this year. Okay, and then he's also presenting for us tonight. So I want to give a special thank you to Chris Petrone. He's really stepping up, doing a nice job. And we will have, I think you won our thing tonight. So now I got to find two prizes for you. But just a big thank you to Chris for his work. And then with that, I'm going to turn it over to Chris. There we go. He's going to talk about face-offs, the other stuff. So, Chris, let me, I remember how to get you to share. I think if I do this. Chris, see if you can take over sharing now. Maybe I got to stop.
Can you all see that? I think you should be able to.
I think we have you there.
Excellent. Thank you. So don't mean to take up a lot of time with this. So there's some things that we all know really well about face-offs, and then there's some things that we sometimes know and sometimes forget about, but we need to be mindful of. And so this is just the other stuff that could go wrong, could happen during a face-off. I am by no means an expert in face-offs. It's probably one of my most self-conscious parts of the game for me on the field. So, you know, we all have our moments of glory. We all have our moments of debacleness. So anyway, here are some stuff about face-offs. I think that's Greg there looking sharp, all tuned into the state championship playoff or state championship face-off. All right. So what we all know, right? This is the basics that we should know pretty well. When to hustle, when to take some time. We talked about this, I think, at the Grottos meeting. We should be hustling on face-offs pretty much all the time. When it gets to be the running clock, we can take our time a little bit. When things are a little heated, right? We can take a little time just to make sure everything's calm and good to go on the field. Position of officials, we should know that. That's pretty textbook, particularly in two-person. Three-person, I know a lot of guys don't do it a ton, and so, you know, the more experienced guys, please help the newer folks or the less experienced with three-person figure out where they're supposed to be, what they're supposed to be looking at, those kinds of things. And that's a good thing for pregame conversations. And then the position of most players, which we'll talk about in a second. Hand signals. We should be doing these. I'll quote Dr. Frank Fry. Be long in the stripes. It was one of the first things I think I learned from DLOA way back when. Frank's a big proponent, and as am I, of nice big signals, long arms, no bends in the elbow, sort of half-assed, you know, with your hand up. And then pointing to the right in three-person, and then pointing to the left in two-person. And this refers to the wing official, right? So face-offs going on. You have one person in the middle or two people in the middle, depending on the number in the crew. And then that third person's out on the wing. They'll be pointing right as the goal that they are going to cover. And so we in Delaware run left on two-person. And so you'll see there on the bottom right, that person has their arm up, their left arm up, meaning they're going to cover the goal to the left. So hand signals are important. Don't half-ass them, please. Be mindful that your crew needs to see what the heck's going on, and it looks sharper. be long in those stripes. And then our information to the two face-off people down, right? That's easy. Inform them. Shouldn't be coaching them. We should be informing them if they need to fix something. Do not touch the sticks ever. So informing as needed. And this is a big one, particularly in the beginning of the season, particularly at the beginning of a game, in the beginning of the season. We can coach these guys a little bit, inform them a little bit as we get through the game into the second, third, fourth quarters and into the season, right? April, May. We shouldn't be doing this a ton anymore. And so they need to understand what their responsibilities are and following those accordingly. Once we determine we're good to go, say set, and then whistle, varying the cadence and the steps that you take moving out of the way. And we've talked about this in the past. It's up to you all and your sort of athletic prowess, whether you need to back out and stop, or you can be blowing the whistle and back out at the same time. It's up to you and your comfort level. And again, how confident you are, you can get out of the way if things hit the fan and the ball comes at you. Movement at the face-off X, we have to watch this. And if someone moves, we have to catch the first person. Without a doubt, the second person is going to jump as well. It's just natural instinct. And so, unfortunately, sometimes we call it on the second person instead of the first. So you need to be really mindful. And that comes down to concentration, right? Tuning everything else out, particularly on three person. That is your sole job, is that face-off right there. And so we need to get that right. And then the wing official, as well as the helper on the face-off, is watching the wings and making sure no one leaves early. Clamp duration, right? They shouldn't be clamped and looking around for their buddies, that kind of thing. It's a one motion clamp and rake it out. The back of the stick is rake in one step. That's new this year. That one step is added this year in the rule book, and there should be no carrying on the back of the stick. We need to be watching for those illegal body checks right off the bat, right? Whistle blows, it pops up, pops the other kid. It happens for usually less experienced teams, less experienced face-off guys. They will jump up, just deck the kid. That's no good. We need to get that out of there. And then hits coming from the wing, right? They're not allowed to body check. The wings aren't allowed to body check anyone that's still crouched down or is in a defenseless position. So we need to be mindful of that as well. And then holding, right? If I clamp on top of Greg, who's already got the clamp, that's a hold. Watching elbows, shoulders, hands, those kinds of things. Kids are sneaky. A lot of times they don't even realize they're doing it in some cases, but some of them know full well what they are doing and will hold to gain an advantage, to pin down that other guy so that they can work their way in and get the ball. And then this one's pretty old hat. We should all know this one. No penalty release until possession is called. So some quick visual checks. This is a slide from USA Lacrosse that I pilfered. Hands on shaft, not on plastic, right? Fingers are wrapped around the shaft, touching the ground. A lot of guys will lift that left hand up to gain an advantage there, a mechanical advantage. That's no good. So we want to make sure both hands are down on the ground. Sticks up to the line, not touching it. Parallel to the line and vertical. And then only hands and feet on the ground. They changed this a few years ago. You can't come down to your knee and set up. The guy in blue is on his knee, but they look like they're younger. So we'll do with that what you want. But as soon as they come down, they should not be using their knees, down their elbows, anything like that. It's feet and hands only. And then everything to the left of the plastic. Head, which is considered the neutral zone. So some quick, this isn't a Kahoot. There's no points awarded for this. You can put it in the chat if you want, or you can just say it to yourself. It's up to you. Face-off players can have tape on the throat of their sticks. True or false? Townsend's correct. Yeah, it's false, guys. They shouldn't have any tape on there. A lot of times, we'll see this again. It's like the JV level, middle school level. Kids just don't know the difference yet. They might have just started facing off that day. At those levels, you don't need to be a total jerk about it. Just be like, look, you're not supposed to have tape on your throat, on the plastic. Take it off next time you're on the field. Should be on there. No need to penalize a kid. It's younger, learning this stuff. The high school level, high school varsity level, they should know that. No tape on their head. Face-off players cannot look at the face-off official. True or false? I had to consult Mr. Nutter on this one because this is very common in women's lacrosse, which Chris also officiates. And it's very common in women's lacrosse. You can see it on video, watching games and stuff. They have a little bit less going on in terms of what they're doing at a face-off. They're not crouched down. They're not trying to clamp. And so this one is also false. If a men's lacrosse player wants to look at you on the face-off, try to gain an advantage, it may very well work to his disadvantage, but it's up to him. If he wants to look at you and try to know when you're going to blow that whistle, he's allowed to. It's not in the book that he cannot look at you. And so if that's the case, again, varying that cadence, varying how you hold the whistle in your mouth, how you puff up your cheeks and blow the whistle, whatever you got to do. But they are allowed to look at you. I don't think it happens much, but it could. Face-off players can lean over the midline. True or false?
True.
That one is in fact true. Good work. They can lean pretty hard over the midline, and some of them do it pretty effectively. And so we should not be penalizing them for that. All right, moving on. Stuff we don't often think about. Things that just happen. We don't do them a whole lot, so sometimes we don't think about them. But that 20-second timer when ball is in place. When you are ready to go as the face-off official, by rule, we should be starting our 20-second timer. This is dicey, right? Because if that timer goes off and a team's not ready, you have to call something. And so I typically do not run a timer if things are moving along pretty well. Things are going well. It's great. No timer. If a team starts slacking off and they don't know who they're sending on the field and it's kind of a slower game, trying to move things along, whatever, I'll throw the timer on, right? If you see someone all of a sudden hustling onto the field, kill the timer, right? If the guy's like messed up, coach messed up, whatever, getting someone on the field, the kid's hustling on the field, we don't necessarily penalize them for that, particularly if it's a one-off kind of thing. If they're doing it consistently, then yeah, we can throw that timer on and in an effort to move the ball along, move the play along. Question?
See, they had a reputation of being very hard.
All right. If there are questions, just unmute and fire off questions so we can get that answered. Person loses their helmet during before possession is called. That is an automatic play killer, right? And we're going to reface that. Make sure the helmet, the kids are safe. So we kill the play if the helmet pops off. There's new rules in there about helmets popping off this year, so make sure you're familiar with that. Interference on the wing. We're watching guys for leaving early. How often, okay, whistle blows, they haven't left early. Now I'm focused on the play in the middle of the field. Meanwhile, blue is like preventing white from moving into the middle of the field. That's interference. We need to call that. Oftentimes, coaches will help us call that. Keeping players behind the restraining line on a restart after a face-off infraction. We want to make sure that guys aren't cheating, right? Creating some sort of disadvantage. I think Greg covered it at the Grotto's meeting. You know, on a face-off infraction, move the guy over into their offensive zone, just in case this guy comes screaming up out of the restraining line from behind him. Can't actually get a stick on him. All right. If someone leaves the field out of the restraining box, you can make them return before you start play, as long as it doesn't disadvantage the team that's entitled to the ball. So we need to watch that. Make sure guys are staying in the box or behind the restraining line before the restart, and then starting accordingly. The definition of possession we'll talk about in a second, as well as when to call play or free play. So give that a second. So take a look at this field. This is at a face-off, right? There's either a goal, beginning a quarter, whatever. Are we good here? So you don't have to like type in the chat or anything, but just take a look. See if you can find anything that might be amiss.
You guys are
wondering if they were going to return. So with the chat.
Yeah, you're down, man.
All right. What do you got? Does anyone have anything they want to mention? You can unmute.
So we just have to get to the point.
All right, everyone's being shy. That's fine.
Blue only has 2 on attack below restraining line.
What's up?
Blue only has 2 on attack below restraining line.
Blue only has 2 attack, right?
So does red, actually, for that.
Well, so let's think about this for a second. Blue's missing an attack, but there's somebody in the box here. And so it's actually a mistake with these knuckleheads on the
Right. But yeah, you can't bring out of the box though still.
right. So oops. So we have this guy. Is he in a good spot or no? Is he
He's legal.
he's legal, right?
Below the restraining line.
They don't need to be inside the box. They need to be
Nope.
behind the restraining line
Yep.
on a face-off. So in a lot of cases, a coach will be down here in the coaching box here talking to their person. That's totally fine, right? They can be in the alley, no worries. As Chris said, oh, these three knuckleheads here. So we got two guys on the wing line, no good, right? Rule 4.4 I think it's 1 says you need to have one person from each team on a wing line. Can't have two people there. We're missing a red attack down here, and we're missing red defense down here. So essentially the red coach's substitution guy coach should probably think about his job because he's all banged up. And so we do have a blue person in the box. And so the wing line over here, right on the far end, should be open, but we should have one of these knuckleheads on the close wing line down in the box down here where this says def, right? Right. So people behind the restraining line, goalkeeper and 3 players on defensive side, 3 players on the offensive side, and then 1 player in each of the wing areas. And referring to it as a restraining line versus restraining box. Again, coaching box extends. They want to talk to their guy. They're in their right to come over outside the box there into the alley and talk to their coach. I like this graphic from USA lacrosse. When do we start over? When do we need to start a face-off over again? Ball goes out of bounds at the midfield. We don't know who touched it last. We're going to go ahead and reface that. If I, as an official, blow my whistle before possession is called, before it crosses the restraining line, we're going to go ahead and reface it. An injury occurs in the midfield area prior to possession. We're going to reface that. Simultaneous fouls while the ball is loose. Official calls timeout before a team actually gains possession. We're going to reface that. No one had possession, can't call timeout yet. And then the ball gets stuck in a uniform, not in a stick. I don't like that he's got this stick in the picture here. But if the ball gets stuck in a uniform, right, we're going to up in the helmet, whatever the case may be. We want to clear the ball out and reface that. All right. When to call play. So typically ball gets possessed by a team. Easy, we call possession. Sometimes that doesn't happen. Ball flies into the box or behind the restraining line. That's a free play, right? I call free play or play depending on what I'm thinking at that particular second. Wind the arm, play. It's anybody's ball, right? If who is this? Red, who's missing an attackman still, picks up the ball outside the box. They still have 10 seconds to step in. They do have to satisfy that. I believe. If that's not right, correct me on that one. And if blue picks it up, we're going the other way, right? So ball goes in the box, we're calling play and winding arm. This one is a more common mistake than I think a lot of us like to admit. The definition of possession. And this is something I started to concentrate on, I think last season or 2 seasons, making sure that possession by the player fits the definition, right? The ability to carry, cradle, pass, or shoot the ball. This is a really hard thing to find images of on Google there. And so there's some images here. There's one's women's lacrosse there with the black sticks. I apologize, but I think it's a pretty good figure illustration of this principle. So all 4 of these people are not in possession of the ball yet. And so we shouldn't be calling possession in these instances, right? The ability to carry, cradle, pass, or shoot. It's right in the rule book, 4.5.2. If they don't have that possession or fit that definition, we should not be calling possession. And that has a lot of implications, particularly for the folks behind the restraining line, which we'll talk about. Issues, you called it too early. I've done this. We've probably all done this. You called it too early and you're like, oh, geez, I shouldn't have done that. If there's no advantage or disadvantage, move on. Just forget it, move on. It's been done. You're not going to call it back. You're not going to change it. It'd be too much of a debacle. Let it play out and be more careful next time. If there is advantage or disadvantage, unfortunately, we may have to own this. And at the absolute last resort, go with AP. Absolute last resort, right? And it's got to be pretty blatant that you called it too early, something went awry, and you need to call it back. So be mindful of that. This happens a fair amount. Restrained player decides for himself that possession has been obtained. That player is not an official. He decides to leave the restraining line early because he feels that possession has been gained. We gotta call back. If it's early, and particularly if it changes advantage, disadvantage, we gotta, oops, sorry about that. We gotta call back. It's technical foul, turnover on the ball, give the ball to the right team, and we move on, depending on who pops out early. If it's close and there's no advantage, disadvantage, I usually let it play out and then just warn the player and or the coach, look, your guy jumped early, make sure he's staying in the box until possession is called. You can tell both coaches in a break, during a break, whatever, timeout, quarter break, just let them handle it, right? Tell them, hey, this is how it's going to play out. If they leave the box early again, we're going to call it. After possession, make sure someone is counting. This is a two-person game, typically situation. It should be the lead counting, but sometimes it doesn't happen. Some of the things get hung up. Make sure someone is counting. We'd rather have two people counting than no one counting. So make sure that someone is counting. And overtime. This is was talking with my brother a little bit. He's a coach up in Pennsylvania, asking him about frustrations he may have on face-offs with officials. Some of you know him. I'm sure he's a yeller. I will never officiate one of his games. But flag down as fourth quarter expires or between the fourth and OT. Is there a face-off in the overtime? So flag down as fourth quarter expires or between the fourth quarter and overtime. Is there a face-off?
No, the team that flag down with big possession.
Right.
All right.
A face-off. Correct. Thank you, Chris Nutter. Team A is man up and has possession as fourth quarter expires. Is there a face-off in OT? Also nope.
Carry.
Carries over. Yep. The only thing we're going to do is do a coin toss to figure out which goal is being defended, and the ball will start where it ended up in the fourth quarter. And last one, play on as the fourth quarter expires. Is there a face-off in OT? Tricky. Yes. Play. Yep. So in this case, there's a play on, fourth quarter expires. We're going to have a face-off in the overtime period. All right. Recap. So this is the last slide. We want to handle a lot of this stuff in our pregame meeting, right? We're talking to our crew about face-offs, all these things that I covered. We are recording, but I'm happy to share this PowerPoint, or I can pull all this stuff out and make it into just a one-pager that I can.
Hey, Chris.
Yeah.
Terry Handy.
Hey, Derek.
On that flag down, would we assess something on that flag down? Because to me, it would have to be something since we.
Oh, you turned off your mic there, Terry. So I think if I understood, yeah, if there's a flag down for some reason, right, which denotes possession, we have to call that in, whether it's a technical foul, personal foul, whatever the case may be. We'll assess that penalty, and the other team will start shorthanded in the overtime. If that doesn't answer your question, unmute and fire away. All right. Again, pregame meetings, talking to our crew. Go ahead. What? Sorry.
I'm good. Okay. Thanks.
Yep. Thank you. Talking with our crew. Like I said, I can pull all these things out, these bullet points out of the PowerPoint and just make a one-pager that you guys can talk about in pregame or just study, up to you. And by all means, this is not comprehensive, right? So if there are things that are missing, you're like, hey, Chris, you really missed this important thing that I always look for on a face-off that you didn't cover. Please tell me, right? I said I'm not the expert. I want this to be as comprehensive and useful to you all as possible. Make sure we're talking to coaches about face-offs, and then make sure you're talking to these face-off players. Get in those meetings. They're a pain in the butt, particularly at the end of the season. You've met these kids 10, 15, 20 times. The things don't change, but just having that rapport, establishing the lines of communication with those face-off players is key, so that they feel comfortable telling you, hey, look, this guy's leaning. He's doing this, he's doing that. Great. I will watch it. We'll talk about it on the next face off. Those kinds of things. You want to build that rapport. You're going to be talking to these kids. You're working with these kids predominantly more than any other player on the field. And so we want to build that rapport so that when they are on the field, they trust you, you trust them, and we have good face-offs. Be quick, be fair, do not rush, right? We want to be quick. We want to get this game moving, but we don't want to rush this face-off. That's when we screw up. Concentrate, as I mentioned, tune everything else out, right? We got to focus on that face-off and what's happening with those two players. And then if you see possession, say possession. If it's not possession yet, can't cradle, carry, pass, shoot, it is not possession. Do not call it, all right? And then know where players are supposed to be in all these different kinds of crazy situations. And then creating that muscle memory, right? The more you do this, the more you concentrate on what's happening around you, you'll create that muscle memory. So then there is, less variable next time you do it. And there's a picture up there. I pulled it. I don't know. It must be pretty old. They have motorcycle grips. They have knees and elbows on the ground. It's just like everything wrong that you can do by today's rules, which is kind of fun. So in the questions I see or in the chat, is there a preference on if the face-off official says possession, or can any official say possession? So I think it's typically the closest one, right? So if I'm right there, I just did the face-off, I'm right there, guy picks it up, I should be calling possession. If Chuck's right there, you're Chuck, ask the question. If you're there, Chuck, and I'm way the hell over on the wing, and yes, maybe I'm the R or whatever, but no, it's whoever's closest, whoever can see that possession has been gained should be calling it. If all three guys see it, all three guys can call it, right? We need to have that communication. Great. And with that, I will take any questions or whatever, texts, private messages, whatever. And again, if there's something that I'm missing here that's blatant, let me know, please.
Thank you very much, Chris. That was great. Just to add on to that last part too, once one official calls possession, pretty much everybody should, whether you're in 2-man or 3-man. That way it's clear to everybody around the field if they're released, if they're not released. A lot of higher levels, even if there is possession, on the far end of the field or not possession, there's a player on the defensive end whose job it is to get to the box to aid in substitution after the face-off. So we want to be communicating that very well. Everything there is great. Probably the biggest thing, and this is how it started with Chris and I, is calling that possession too early. And then finding out not, because like Chris said, once that occurs, you're pretty much stuck. You just pretty much have to go for it. You really can't back it up. You can't take it back. It's very hard to go back and say, we're going to do another face-off or anything like that. So be very careful. Make sure you have possession. And the one thing I will say with that too, is often as you're figuring out possession, a guy will start to leave the box. If it's possession, just wind it and let that guy leave the box, a second early. We're not talking about 2 or 3 seconds early. We all know possession was there, and there's going to be a delay between seeing and communicating it. But if a guy does, seriously leave the box, you want to call that. And sometimes when play is banging around right on the edge of the restraining line, that guy with his toe on the line is your best friend, because you can kill it, get a good restart, and go with it. So Chris, thank you very much. I'm going to take over sharing again here. Give me 1 second to get everything back up here.
And just to add on while Greg's pulling up the next set of slides, chances are only about 5 people in the stadium know the definition of possession. And so if we do screw it up, it's not the end of the world, right? It's we're the only ones that typically know that it needs to be carry, cradle, pass, shoot.
Give me 1 minute here, guys. There we go. All right. So what we're gonna do for the rest of the time, and I apologize, this is probably gonna run over just a little bit tonight. I'll make it up to you somehow. But we're gonna spend a lot of time talking about restart mechanics and transition mechanics. And there's quite a bit to it, and we're gonna go with both 2 and 3 man so that that we're all on the same page. The hope, of course, is that we're covering a good majority of our game, with the 3 man mechanics, and we can really cover these games very well. So here's some definitions of mechanics. The big thing is, our mechanics is how we move with purpose and signal for clarity. All right, so that's very important to what we're doing. Being in good position to see and make calls, being consistent, making the same types of calls throughout the game, being fair, okay, using our rules and game knowledge to promote a fair outcome, and then safety. And as we can see this year, pretty much every rule coming out, the big rule changes always have to do with safety. This year it's helmets and equipment and things like that, but we're constantly working on keeping our players safer and safer as we move forward. And all this mechanics, it's teamwork. We're the 3rd team on the field. Okay. Why are mechanics important? Okay. Everybody, especially the coaches and the players, need to know, what is the call, who's getting the ball, and where is the ball going to start? So we want to be very clear when we do things that we are answering these 3 questions. We're telling the story of what's going on. When we're on the field, there's some key considerations in how we do our mechanics, particularly in our group. We have some young bucks who can run all day, and then we have some of us who are struggling a little bit sometimes. You got to know yourself. You got to anticipate play, and they kind of work together. If you've got a game where the ball's on the ground a lot, and you're not running that well, you may want to back up a little bit when you're the trail. You want to be anticipating more. Okay. And all this kind of gets to the best thing, are you really in the best shape you can be in? So being that it's February 18th and we have about a month till the games really start, we should be focused on getting in shape. All right. Positioning. Here's some questions that we want to ask ourselves. Where is the ball? Okay. What's my job right now? Am I the person who's right on the ball? Am I focusing on that? Or am I the off-ball official? Am I looking at play off the ball? Okay. Where's play probably going to go next? Or what is the offense doing? What's happening? Are my partners in the right position? Where are they? And can I see all the players I'm supposed to see? We want to be in the right place at the right time to know all this. Okay. Couple of big things. Chris stepped on this very well. Rest in peace, Gordon. Don't run red lights. So a big part of our mechanics that we're going to talk about tonight is that hand up. Okay. When you see that hand up and your partner's got his hand up, that's a stop sign. It's a red light. We don't want to run red lights. There's cameras everywhere. Okay. Make sure that that we're very mindful of what's going on. Okay. And if you are the official doing a restart, you want to just take that quick glance. If you're the guy with your hand up and something was going on that play shouldn't have restarted and you hear the whistle blow, you should be banging on your whistle, tweet, 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 stop play, fix it. Don't let it start in a bad situation. Okay. All right. And then the green light, of course, is our arms straight out. That's indicating that we're ready to go. We want to make sure that the field is ready, the players are ready. There's nothing going on that's going to create an advantage or a disadvantage. All right. So those are 2 very, very important communication signals that we all need to know. All right. Restart mechanics. This is going to be a refresher for some, but we all need to constantly be thinking about this. So what are our primary responsibilities? So when we are the lead official, okay, our primary responsibility is always the goal and the crease. Okay. Doesn't matter if you're 2 man, 3 man, that's your main job. The goal, the crease, and the end line. Okay. All right. Making sure we're getting shot backups and all that. All right. You're also responsible for your sideline on this side. Okay. So this is a big difference between 2 and 3. When you're in 2, you have this sideline all the way down. When you're in 3, somebody else mostly has that sideline. Okay. In 2-person, 2-man, you have that 20-second count as a new trail. So as soon as possession changes, you're flipping your timer and you have that count. Okay. And you also have that kind of delayed offsides count. Notice that it's kind of a delayed offsides. We're not looking right away. For offsides, our first responsibility is what's going on the ball. Now the trail down here, what is his responsibility? He's always got the shooter, okay? If a guy gets blown up, a guy gets hit, and we miss it, it's always going to be this guy's fault, all right? Watch the shooter. You have this sideline all the way down, and then, of course, you still have your opposite goal way back here when we go through transition, and you have responsibilities for over and back, okay? And then, just like I said, you have the goal coverage as the new lead, okay? And you also, one other thing there is, as that person, the new lead, once the play crosses the midline, you will have the 10-second count going in. All right. So in settled play, who is restarting? So some important things to know, okay? Which line was crossed, okay? Where's everyone going and what are the situations, okay? So if the restart is taking place on the end line or this sideline, it's going to be the lead. If it's something up here, okay, at the midfield or this sideline, it's the trail who's responsible for restarting. That's whenever we have settled play. Okay. All right. Deep restarts. Okay, so we're restarting a ball all the way over here on this side of the field. Okay. We each have a job. Okay, the new lead is going to move forward, keep 2 lines between themselves and the ball. Okay, move to the goal and be ready to cover their goal. The trail stays here, just behind the ball as they move upfield. Okay, and then they're going to check offsides. On the restart, and this is where the stop and the go signal are very important. Okay. You don't always know when you're here and you have a restart here, is he inbounds? Is he not inbounds? Okay. We see it often where nothing happens and all of a sudden the player's still up here. This guy blows his whistle. Okay. It's this lead, the new lead's responsibility to be right on the line. And as soon as that player steps in, as a yard inbounds with possession, you give the go sign. Before that, you should have your hand up. As soon as the ball goes out of bounds, your hand should go up. It should stay up until we're ready to play. We have a nice diagonal to watch that. Okay. All right. And then we also want to, okay, on restarts at the substitution box. Okay. So whenever the ball is over on this side, we want to make sure that that player starts anywhere 5 yards from this box. This is one of those situations, well, what could happen bad? So if you think about it, if you start here and you're a yard from the box, right? We look good right now. Well, let's say this defensive player decides to sneak in and this guy decides to come out just as you're blowing the whistle. Okay. If your player is here and he comes out, it's an illegal situation. It's a bad deal. We get everybody 5 yards to the box. This is our slowest restart. We do not have to do a fast restart right here. Okay. All right. And then once we do that, the trail has come up. All right. And then the lead is already down here and he's in position. Okay. End line restarts after a shot, just so everybody can sort of see. All right. This
No,
is
so-
the defense is going to be restarting here. All right. So as soon as that call is made that the ball is out of bounds, the defense is getting it. That lead needs to take off and get at least his 2 ahead. Okay. And as the ball comes up, we all come into our positions. Okay. Make sure as soon as we have this restart here, that it's called the defense is getting it, that as the old trail new lead, you're taking off. Okay. And then the other restart we want to be careful of are the whistle violations. We talked about this a little bit. I want to show you real quick. We want to make sure in 2-person that we have everything situated. He stands them up. He points. Okay. The player getting the ball picks it up, and we have a good, clean restart. The only thing I'll say about this that I don't like in the video, he turns his back on the players and the ball. But it is hard in this situation, okay, because he's kind of got 2 responsibilities. But you always want to be careful of not looking. But that's a good, clean restart right there. The restart occurred just inside on the offensive side. All right. And everybody was in the box. All right. Any questions on our 2-person restarts? Okay. Should be pretty basic. We've done a lot of this. We should be pretty good at it. When we get on the field next week, we will spend some time working on this and making sure we're communicating in 2-person, 2-man mechanics. The most important thing is that communication between the 2 of you, that we are truly ready to restart. We have a big field that we have to cover, and it can be difficult. Okay. So in 3-man, okay, we add an extra person, so some of our responsibilities change. All right. The lead, who is this person down here, has goal increased responsibilities. That doesn't change. They have end line responsibilities. Okay. Those are the big responsibilities. So it really simplifies what this person is doing. Doesn't have to worry about this line back here. And we'll talk about that in a minute. Okay. He can worry just about this and his end line. Okay. The single, he is partially responsible for the shooter. All right. Particularly, when the shooter's out here or we're right in on the crease, he wants to stay with the shooter. He has this sideline. That's his responsibility, not the end line, this sideline right here. In 3-man in high school rules, the single has all the counts. So as soon as there's a change of possession, the single takes over the counts. Okay. And as soon as the ball crosses the line, they have the counts. And the reason for this is they're in best position to see everything. All right. Understand when it came across. They also have kind of what's called our first offsides account. And you'll see when we go into transition, the single should be taking off and running to the cone. It's very easy to count both sides when you're on the line. So when he's up there, he's taking that first offsides count. The trail, same thing, has the shooter. Okay. And even more so, anything out here, they have the shooter. They now have this sideline right here for shots, anything out of bounds. That's their responsibility. All right. And then, of course, they still have the opposite goal. Okay. And they have over and back responsibilities. And a second offsides count. All right. And that actually would be the new trail coming up would have responsibility for the final count of onsides and offsides. All right. So now, like we looked at in 2-man, let's see who has responsibilities for what when we have a restart. All right. So the lead, remember, all the lead has to worry about on settled restarts is anything coming off of the end line. They don't have to worry about the sideline because the trail has this whole sideline restart. All right. Okay. Now, we will talk in a little bit. We'll see a couple. If the ball goes out of bounds way down here, okay, and it's going to be a slow, settled restart, sometimes it's better to communicate and have the lead take that, but that's only below GLE. And that's only on a restart that maybe happens because of something other than an out of bounds. Okay. And then the single is restarting anything that goes out on this sideline. Okay. And the trail will also, have any restarts at the midline. All right. Okay. Deep restarts across the field. So just when we were looking at the 2-man, all right, this trail was going to restart the ball over here. All right. The lead, who is going to be on the other side, was all the way down here with the restart. Now the single, all right, will be the one to give that ready signal when the ball comes inbounds and we're ready to go. And that person should get to that cone and stand just off the field at the cone and let the ball pass as you begin the 10 count. But on the restart, this is where they are. They're going to give the signal across. Now, one question I get asked a lot and is kind of sometimes a point of confusion. Okay. Where does the signal just take the whistle? All right. And what I'll say is, okay, it's kind of a crew thing, but it makes sense to me if there's a restart in this area, okay, which is basically the wing lines. So 10 yards on either side here. It makes a lot of sense to me for the single just to go ahead and take that restart, but make sure that that trail, whoever it's going to be, whatever direction you're going in, okay, knows that you're gonna take a restart on his half of the field. Of course, anything, if we're going in this direction, so we're going to the left, that single would have any restart down here. All right. And then here, even more, the lead can be those 2 lines ahead of transition and be ready to go. Okay. And then again, restarts at the substitution box. When the ball is on the defensive side, same thing. We get the ball in. Okay. Sometimes this trail will help get the person in the right spot, and then this person comes in as the new trail and makes the restart. We never should make a restart that's within 5 yards of this whole area. Okay. So, Mark, go ahead.
Hey, Greg, question about like face-off violation. Who gets the restart? Is it the single?
I will get to that in just a second. You're 1 step ahead of me.
Sorry about that.
Nope. It's a good question because it's important. All right. So everybody understands the substitution box. Get everybody away. Take your time, and also make sure the person's in the right spot. All right. And then usually by then everybody's in the right position, especially if we had the ball on the offensive side. The single and the trail can come down and be in the right position. The point being that if we started on the defensive side, we still want our single here because we still are going to have a lot of stuff going on in this general area. Make sense? All right. Let's see.
Hey, Greg, another quick question on the restart. So with the stop and go. So if I'm running back to get in possession, I will be the lead, and then they're coming in. Do I keep my hand up until, or do I let the trail restart? And I can't run sideways so good. I try to just get down. What do you suggest? Thanks.
So we want to get the quick restarts as quick as possible. So if you're not the face-off official, you have to do everything to get, or if you're not the restart official, get everything to get into position. And that's where, sometimes if you're not, physically, you're going to struggle a little bit. That's where you've got to anticipate and be ahead of it. It's kind of a crew thing too, and a level of play. If your partner's out of position and it's not totally safe, give that person that extra step or two. But for the most part, we want to get those restarts started. All right. On a ball, end line ball going to the defense down here. Okay, the trail's going to restart. This lead, he's going to gonna head out and get into position, the single should be beelining it to the cone. Okay, so you kind of see everybody getting there. And then once the ball crosses, we come in nice and neat. All right, makes sense? All right. Mark, here is the violation and the restart of the face-off, and this, of course, is a place where it's much better when you have three officials, because you can make sure you get both boxes frozen. Okay, very simply. All right, the person who handles the restart in three-man mechanics is always going to be the single. Okay, the lead and the trail should freeze the boxes and get to their spot. All right, so let's just watch this. So we have, this is an old video, so he's on his knee and they're touching sticks. We have the violation, we have a clear signal, boxes are frozen, and we have our restart. Okay. The single should always handle that restart when you, especially you all who are doing a lot of two-man games, make sure you know you're working with your crew to get reminders, you know, that the single should start. A lot of people tend to, you know, they're so used to bailing on that restart and getting out of the way, and letting the trail handle it, that they take off and there's that awkward moment. Okay, this is the best situation because we get the boxes frozen, we get the restart nice and settled in the right spot. And if you look at that, that official does a great job, because the kid who picks up the ball is about to take off and he actually stops him for a second so he doesn't get that real running restart. We'll watch it one more time. All right, so the pole gets out of the way. He tells him hold up. As soon as he stops, he does the restart. Very nice, pretty clean restart. All right. Okay, any questions so far? Those are all kind of settled, easy restarts. All right, when the ball goes out of bounds, some very important things to remember. We do not have running starts from out of bounds, okay? So the player picks up the ball, sprints inbounds. We're gonna stop them and get them back to the right spot. If they come in jogging and they're not defended, go ahead and blow the whistle. There's no reason to stop them and put them in the right spot, as long as they're coming in the right places. Remember, anytime we're near the table area, the sub box, 5 yards, get them on, you know, make sure they get on the field. Okay. You have to give the goalie 5 seconds to return to their crease. All right. So if the goalie has left the crease for any reason, okay, it doesn't matter if it's a shot. It doesn't matter if they tried to be Superman and ran all the way up the field and then turned the ball over and there was a stoppage of play. They get 5 seconds to get back there. All right. Offensive players must be more than 5 yards from the person with the ball. Never, ever restart a play until the offensive players are 5 yards. That's one of your kind of bailouts to control your restart. You have 2 offensive players, one with the ball, one without, and they're 3 yards away. Just stand there. You know, they've got to get 5 yards away. All right. Defensive players don't have to be more than 5 yards away, but so we can, you know, with the rule changes over the last few years, we want those restarts to be pretty quick. So we can restart them, and you just have to know what the parameters are that would make it illegal. All right. And a lot of defensive players, you know, as our players get better and smarter, they'll stand 3 yards away and not play the person, you know, because it does have an effect on the guy with the ball if somebody's 3 yards away. We don't warn them. We don't wait. If play starts and they started 3 yards away and they play the person, they try to jump up and bat the ball away. They run with them, even if they run 50 yards and then play them. That's going to be that penalty. And remember, that is now illegal procedure, which makes a lot more sense than delay of game. All right. And then timeouts along the end line can start inside the box. Okay, so if team A takes a shot, goes out of bounds, team A or team B calls a timeout, that shot had gone out of bounds inside the box, you're going to restart right where it went out of bounds. You don't have to pull it out. All right. Inbounds. Okay. Couple of slight differences. We allow quick restarts from inbounds. Okay. If we have a play on that we kill, we restart them as quickly as possible. All right. As soon as all the players have kind of separated and we've made our signal, we can go, particularly if the offensive team is ready. Again, the goalie gets 5 yards to get to the crease. Offensive players have to be more than 5 yards from the ball carrier. Defensive players do need to be more than 5 yards away, but and then they can be penalized if they don't create a 5-yard separation. And then any offensive restart has to be outside of the box in the alley if play stopped in the box. Okay, so you'll see a good example of that in one of the videos where they took the player outside the box. They don't get to just step out of the box at the top and you restart. They actually have to restart anything in the alley that took place. Okay, and again, let's just review. So this is kind of the following requirements that we have to have for a quick restart. Okay, and if we don't, we get that flag down or we could have a turnover. Okay, the offense is 5 yards away. This is the one we don't want to have happen because that's a turnover and the coach is not going to be happy because, we should get them 5 yards away. So make sure before we blow our whistle, they're 5 yards away. We don't want to catch them in that. All right. Defense, 5 yards away all right, all those parameters. They have to have a clear path to the goal. So even if he lines up 3 yards away, but he is not giving him that clear path to the goal, that is going to be a foul. All right. And you have to make those calls. You have to have the courage and the bravery to make those calls. Also, with the quick restarts, remember, if the player is 3 yards away, but not blocking the path to the goal, and the offensive player just runs into him, that's nothing. It's not you just keep on going. People are going to yell and scream. But if he purposely ran into a person in an effort to draw that illegal procedure foul, we're just going to kill play. Or we're not going to kill play. We're just going to let it go. Okay? Any questions? All right. So let's look. We're going to look at a bunch of videos with a bunch of different restarts. Okay. The first is going to be a nice, slow, settle restart. I think this is coming out of a timeout or a penalty. So we're going to have the ball start down here. Hands up, waiting for play. We get a nice signal and we start play. All right. Pretty easy. That's a slow. This probably just came out of a timeout or an injury or something like that. All right. And the crew did a great job with their communication, taking their time and getting everything right with that restart. Okay. So again, the ball's down here. Everybody's got their hand up. Even though he's giving him the ready, he looks at him. We have a nice clean restart. No shenanigans. All right. All right. Here is, and this is what we were talking about with a sideline restart in, this could be 2 or 3 person mechanics. All right. So let's look at it. Ball goes out of bounds. Okay. He waits. He puts him in the right spot. Okay. Let's look at it again. Everything's good. Good clear signals. Hands up. Player's picking up the ball. He's putting him in the right spot. Gives the signal. But anybody see a problem?
Didn't give him 5 yards.
He's not 5 yards. Okay. So That should have been a flag. The restart, the mechanics of getting everybody in bounds, and the communication was great, but he didn't give him 5 yards. All right, let's look at another sideline restart. All right, ball's gonna go out of bounds. This is a very similar restart. Okay. He puts him back in the right place. The kid tried to get about a 10-yard, 12-yard advantage. We restart. Everybody's 5 yards. We're good. All right, let's look at it one more time. Great mechanics. You have the call, the signal, hand goes up, but no, son, you can't come in there. You're going to go down there. Once he's inbounds in the right spot, we communicate and we get our whistle. All right. Very nice restart. And that could be 2 or 3 person. All right. This is a nice little sideline restart where the single, and you can't really see him until the very end, but he does a nice job getting the player in the right spot and stopping. All right. Player stops. Everybody's 5 yards. Great restart. Okay. Everybody see that? Comes in, kid stops. We're on our way. Good hustle by the single. Okay. All right. Here's another sideline restart. Let's look at this. Okay. He does a nice job communicating. You can actually hear him tell the kid to stop, right? He actually takes a pause. Did anybody see anything else? Any problems in that restart?
5 yards.
Okay. 5 yards. It was
And the kid stepped on the line. The trailing guy stepped on the line.
Was he offsides?
Yes,
Okay. You know, you counted, right? 100%.
I did. Yeah.
All right. This is a great, I like this clip. Okay. So as soon as that kid steps on the line, we want to be careful not to throw the flag. All right. Stepping on the line, right? He's offsides. Okay. If you watch it, why did we get back? All right. So when we watch this, it's a nice view. Look down the line. Okay. So he's going to step on the line. 1, kid running off. 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. 6. They were offsides, right? But you want to make sure, my point is, you want to make sure before you just throw the flag on that he truly was offsides. Another second, that kid would have been in the box. They technically wouldn't have been offsides. So when you
Yeah,
have,
that's what I looked at. I looked at the guy running off the field. Was he off or not already?
so that's one, and in that kind of game, you're there on the fan side, everybody's screaming he's offsides. Take a second. I always kind of just set my hand on my flag and I'm like, okay, he was 1, he's on the field still 2, and then you work your way, towards the bottom of the field and make your count. So in this one, I mean, you really have 2 fouls on the same kid. Because he is definitely within 5. The other kid there, 8, was perfect. All right. But, huge disadvantage. I would probably, to be honest with you, I would not hit him for 2 fouls. I would get him for the offsides in that case. Clearly offsides with possession. It's kind of the same play. There's a strong disadvantage. The 5 yards is kind of, it's 4.5. But if they weren't offsides, I still would hit them for the being too close, particularly because there was a turnover there, right? There was definitely a disadvantage. Does that make sense to everybody? So that's a great clip on how to count and how to look and do some other things. All right, here's another sideline restart. What do we see here? Ball goes out of bounds. All right, ball comes in. Anybody want to break that one down for me? Look at it one more time.
The taco wizards are working their magic.
What did the official do right?
Moved him back.
Moved him back. Put him in the right spot, right? You can kind of see, you know, the kid wanted to start right away. Referee took a break. It's another one though, too, where we have the 5 yards. Think. Kind of looking, I see one, you know, even though he comes in, he's backing up. Even with the diagonal, I only count about 3 yards there, right? And he does run towards him and he makes a play. That's a tough call, but by the rule, you know, he definitely played him within the 5 yards. Okay. All right. Any questions on the clip so far? All right. Here's a good restart off a loose ball push. All right. Clearly have the loose ball push. Push was inside the box. We've got a great signal. All right. And then you'll see the official moves him pretty close to the alley. All right. Technically, he should have put him right into the alley, but he got him out of the middle of the field. All right. Great stop. I thought that was a great loose ball push. The push started before maybe he had the ball. All right. All right. All right. Here's a couple really good crease restarts. Okay. When we restart in the crease, a couple things we always got to make sure of is that whoever was in the crease is not in the crease anymore. We do still have, you know, 5 yards, 5 yard rule. So any offensive player, any player or the teammate of the goalie has to be out of the crease, or if it's another player picking it up, starting the crease, the goalie pretty much has to get out of the crease. We just want to make sure we get nice, clean starts and good signals so everybody knows what's going on. So here you go. Good communication. All right, we get the ball back in the crease. We get a good start. And what I really like about this, if you look at the two officials here, all right, the single has it. They look at each other, they verify, and then the single gets out and goes, and the trail takes that restart. All right, here's another one, kind of similar. Okay, it ends up in the crease. Good communication. And they waited for that one long pole to take a step away. He gets up. And we're on our way. All right. And then one more crease restart. He got nothing because he left his feet and landed. And there was a little break in the film there, but we had good signals. Obviously, no goal. Player picks up the ball and we go. All right. Okay, here's one. So this is where we have a 3-person crew and we have a restart on the out of bounds. All right. Come in. All right, he's asking, do I take the restart? The player up here says no. Make sure he gets inbounds. He's signaling ready. All right. The only thing I would like to see here, the only problem I kind of had with this, and this is part of the problem of regularly going from 2-person to 3-person, is this person should really step down here and watch the action as they run out of bounds. Okay. not run to the sideline and watch the ball. All right. And that just takes time. All right. So you have them out. I would rather he sit back here and look at these guys and particularly other guys to help the trail with any shenanigans or loose ball pushes. Okay. And then I think this is the last one in this. This is finishing strong with a great over and back restart. It's beautiful mechanics. All right, so we have that. Ball comes back to where it should be. We have a nice clean restart. All right, it doesn't matter if this would be 2-man or 3-man. If you watch the trail going to the lead makes a good signal. He actually looks back and communicates that the ball should go back to the center, giving time for the single, or if this is the trail, to come up and find. All right. So clearly, everybody knew what was going on. And I don't know if they did it intentionally, but they also wait for this one pole so he kind of doesn't get trapped in a situation where he's a yard from them when you restart. He's obviously going to position. So that's a great restart. All right. Any questions on restarts?
Now, when looking at this diagram, all right, the lead, okay, is always going to move
Hold on,
up the field and
timeout.
become the new trail in 2 minutes. All right, the trail is going to become the new lead.
Yeah, I'm gonna
He's
go
going to
back for one more. All right, and I'm gonna let Marty take
Now, when
over.
looking at this diagram, all right, the lead, okay,
This is
is
two-person
always gonna move
transition.
up the field and become the new trail in 2-man mechanics. All right, the trail is going to become the new lead, and he's going to banana out so he can see the entire field and get into position as best he can, covering a 2-man game. Okay, there are always limitations in the 2-man mechanic. We know that offsides are very difficult in 2-man mechanics, but cover the things that are most important, and that typically is player safety. It's always better to go wide to be able to see the full field and then come into the play as play settles. When you're running down the field, especially in 2-man mechanics, have your head on a swivel. Okay, use your back pedal as you feel appropriate. All right, and take a look to make sure you know where the ball is and continuously check as you move up the field. All right, sprint on dead balls. Run with your head on a swivel during live balls. Know where the players are and coaches are. And a single, try to get to the cone before the restart whistle. That can always be your personal goal in any game as the single side official. Now the trail jogs and the lead runs, but always see the big picture. All right, when you jog, have eyes on the passer as the trail, and understanding that a lot of fouls happen behind the play. The trail goes with the ball and a little behind, and the lead gets to the goal and lets the ball come to him. Now, when looking at this diagram, all right, the lead, okay, is always going to move.
Vicious with the ball.
I want to show this video real quick.
The trail.
And it's just a good example of two-person mechanics.
Covering a 2-man game.
All right. I'm gonna show it one more time. Ignore his description there for a
Time
minute.
of possession is your friend in this game.
Sides are very different.
So we have that quick thing. And the nice thing is that this lead is right at GLE,
Come into the play
right
as
when.
play settles. And 3-person mechanics.
I'm gonna try and
Remember,
pause
single
this.
has all time.
There we go. All right. So that was kind of quick. I forgot that I copied that slide and he was still talking. The important thing to see from the video you just watched is just how quickly the trail moved to the new lead. All right. That's a fast break, so you have to move fast. On a slower break, you just want to make sure you're working to get those 2 lines ahead. All right. Any questions on the two-person transition? Okay, I'm gonna go, this will now be a 3-person.
timers. Okay, so he's gonna, all right, old trail to new lead,
All
always
right.
wants to get to, in 3-person mechanics, remember, the single has all timers. Okay, so he's gonna flip his timer as he gets to goal line, or as he gets to the cone, which is his primary responsibility to monitor offsides. Okay, the old trail to new lead get 2 lines ahead of the ball. So as the ball is back in the defensive area and it's being cleared, you should be at the far restraining line. As the ball transitions down, you should transition to the goal. All right, the single, as we said, gets to the cone off of the field with the cone in front of him. Do not be on the field during a settled clear so the players can see the cone. And then he starts his offside enforcement if necessary. Remember to count forward before you throw that flag for offsides. Right, the old lead to new trail, remember, he's got the crease counts and he's going to stay just behind the ball or just with it. Watch subs. All right, you have the best view of the substitution area during this time. And stay on the defensive half of the field until you see that they are going to be able to maintain possession and we're going into settle play. This is a great opportunity to clear the box, push back the teams, and also communicate with the coaches if necessary. But remember, don't stay there too long. Come down to the end of the wing line and help your teammates. All right, old trail to new lead always wants to get 2 lines ahead of the ball. The fast break comes quickly, and we want to let that play come to us. Run, then turn and backpedal to minimize time not looking. Okay, signal when the ball is in the box, watch subs, and your GLE is your final spot.
Yeah, I'll take over. I don't know where the audio went there, but when you're the single, the nice thing is you have the entire view of the field, right? So you can see the midline, you see everything. And that's the whole goal of getting to that cone, is having that nice big view. Okay. You're going from lead to the new trail. Okay. Um, you start with the crease count. This is kind of facetious. You know, the referee standing there just looking. You can take your time. Okay. Um, and then if you are the lead, you're working hard to get to goal line extended and then let the play come to you. Okay. That makes sense to everybody? Let's look at this one video here. All right, so this is going to be a good restart and good signaling. Single is hustling for the line.
20 seconds to get there.
We have a nice restart right there.
Now, he's running.
The only thing I do want to say about the singles job there, when the single is coming up, here it's okay because we're kind of in a settled situation and you want to beeline it there. If it's an unsettled situation or it was a turnover, we want to be, as the single running up on this side, still looking into the play. We don't want to turn our back on it. So you either want to run with your head on a swivel looking back, or you want to sidestep. In a situation like this where we had a dead ball, you can take off till you hear the whistle, and then you want to kind of get an idea what's going on. Talk about what could go wrong. One of the things is if you turn your back and then they're passing the ball around and all of a sudden they throw it over and you're not looking, you would miss, missing out of bounds. It's a little embarrassing. All right. Let's look at another one here. So this is just a good settled clear. If you see the single, he's looking back the whole time. Okay, he's coming up. Leg goes out of bounds. All right. and we have the whole field covered with that wide triangle. And then the final slide of this. All right. And you're going to really see these guys hustle. And one of the reasons we want this lead or this old lead, new trail to hang back, and we saw the one slide where it was kind of lazy. Watch what happens here. Okay. Trail's doing a nice job looking in, backpedaling. And boom, we had a turnover. All right. But look what happens when we had the turnover. Where's our new lead? He's right where he needs to be. And our single knew it was going on. He's in really good shape. We have the bad pass. Right to the middle of the field. Okay. The worst thing that could happen here is, he's anticipated too much. He's way up here. The single is all the way down here. And we got nobody down here. So this was just a great job of working together as a team in our three-man mechanics. All right. So that's all I have for that. What I wanted to discuss kind of at the end, let me stop sharing my screen, because I've used plenty of your time. Are there any questions? Anything you saw you have questions about? It was a lot of material. I'm going to post this up on YouTube tomorrow. You can watch through it. So let me give you an idea of what we're going to do next Sunday. Like I told you, we're working with Salesianum, and they're going to bring a full squad. So there'll be plenty of players if you know what a full Salesianum squad looks like. And we're going to start doing some kind of ground balls where they'll run a ground ball drill, but we will stop play, award the ball, and make sure we get good restarts off of that. We'll do some in the middle of the field. We'll do some on the sidelines, to come up with a variety of different situations. Then they'll get to do rides and clears where basically we just start at one end of the field and they're going to clear it to the other. If something happens in between, we're going to restart it and go back the other way or continue it to the end of the field. And we'll just work back and forth with officials cycling in. And then in the end, we are going to do about 25 minutes of two-person mechanics and 25 minutes with them just running a full field scrimmage and people rotating in. We'll have officials and trainers there to kind of help work you through different things. And hopefully we get a lot out of that. So, are there any questions? Anything for me? All right. So that's the end of the meeting for tonight. I'll see everybody next Sunday. Please, as stuff comes up, get your Dragonfly stuff done. If you have any questions, please call, text me. I'll stay on for a minute or two and answer any questions or situations, problems people might have. Thank you, everybody, for coming.
Hey, Greg. Hey, Greg. I have a question. This is Mike Ramsey. They'd mentioned DIAA that there'll be a follow-up on the 19th, but I haven't seen anything about that because unfortunately I missed the rules and terms because of my mom.
In the beginning of the meeting, the online makeup will drop into Dragonfly. You'll have to go finish that in Dragonfly. You have to go to NFHS and watch a video, and then you'll get credit for the credit. So look for that in Dragonfly. Hopefully it pops tomorrow. I'll send an email once I know it's there.
No worries. Thank you, boss, because I was driving, so I didn't get into the beginning of the meeting. Thank you again. Have a great night. And what a great meeting. What great training, Greg. You're getting better.
You mean I was bad before?
You've improved, just like
Thank
everything.
You. That means, Mike, that means the world coming from you.
For me, definitely, because guess what? That was some of the most best training I've seen since Doc was around. It reminded me of Doc, so thank you.
I don't know if I have to work on a mustache, but I'll get there someday. All right. Well, thank you very much. Anybody else? All right, you guys